Hello and welcome, fellow travelers. This is the Travel-Inspired Podcast. We're your hosts, Rob and Kerri Stuart, and we are here in the CMV studio in beautiful Windermere, Florida. You're listening to episode number 157, the top 5 river cruises in Europe.
Now, we are recording this right before we're headed to Europe, and we thought this is the perfect time to talk about our favorite way to travel, and that is river cruising, and specifically the rivers of Europe.
And it really is. So if this is something that we call, it's on your dream builders list, make sure you listen or watch show number 156, where we give you our top tips on flying from the US to Europe. And it's not as simple as you might think.
Yeah, especially if you want to save some money.
Yeah.
But we have always hated the term bucket list. It's kind of depressing.
It is.
And that's why we came up with the term dream builders list.
Well, that and the fact that you actually used to own the name Dream Builders, which was the name of your company.
My business partner and I did have a company called Dream Builders, yeah.
A simple Google search will tell you that the top 5 rivers to cruise in Europe are these: the Rhine, the Rhône, the Danube, the Seine, and the Douro.
As we mentioned in the intro, we are in Europe literally right now. If you are tuning in to the show this week that the episode airs, we are starting with a quick 3-day mini vacation with our friend and business partner, Jen Lee, and her husband in Budapest.
And then the 4 of us sail together up the Danube to Vienna on a 2-day inaugural sailing with Riviera Cruise Lines on their new ship.
I know, I'm super excited about that. And then comes the reason for the trip, the 4-day Asta River Cruise Expo. And this is our 3rd year attending.
That's a big deal.
It is.
And it makes sense since we're already all the way over there to take a cruise afterwards and learn even more about the hottest kind of trip, and that is European river cruises.
And we have done this before, but on this trip, we are sailing on a 6-night cruise on the Danube. We're going to be on the AmaWaterways ship, the AmaLea, to Vilshofen, Germany.
And this one is special because 2 years ago, we were on the same river, same cruise, and our trip was cut short by 2 days because of a German transportation worker strike, which meant we got off the ship 2 days early and headed back for 2 nights to what has become probably our favorite city ever. And that is Vienna, Austria.
I know. I love Vienna.
It is amazing.
I mean, this is going to be so exciting.
And if you're watching this on or around the air date, we're probably still in Vienna.
I know. And my second favorite, though, or I don't know, maybe it's my first, is Florence.
Whoa,
Just saying. Florence, Italy is my favorite.
Are we voting here? What are we doing?
Okay. No, we're not. We're talking about river cruising. Okay, back to the subject.
So we agree on that. There's something about falling in love with a city after just one visit, and then you come back to it again to create new memories and revisit some of your favorite locations.
Yeah, I do love that. Plus, it also seems more familiar on the second trip. Now, on this trip, we will also be sailing with 6 of our Creating Magic Vacations travel agents, so I cannot wait for them to experience it as well.
When it comes to doing this type of trip in Europe, there really are 5 rivers that are most popular and well known. But of course, there are hundreds of rivers in Europe that were the highways in ancient times.
I know, it's kind of crazy because that's how they did all of their commerce. Was they didn't have like roadways and highways, and so rivers were highways basically to just do commerce, which was kind of cool.
So here are those rivers. In at number 1, in no specific order, and this is the Rhine River, and this is a river that flows through Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Austria, Germany, France, and the Netherlands. Lots of castle views, vineyards, and historic cities like Amsterdam, Cologne, and Strasbourg.
Yeah, so this one has some of like the most romantic places to explore. And it's also a very popular one because you can do, like we've done the Rhine out of Amsterdam. So we've done just a little portion of it. And I can't wait to do the more southern portion of it.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler alert.
But if you want to do like a really long cruise, you can go all the way from Amsterdam and then go all the way in and end up in Basel. So this is a really, really cool river and so important because along the way, can you imagine like back in the day, this is how they did their commerce though. Like I mentioned.
I would still like to do this as my commerce of these days.
Well, and this is the one, like you said, where you can see some of those really romantic, the castles, and some of the tours here are going to be super, super unique. A very important thing to know if you are planning on doing the Rhine is know your seasons, because we have a lot of people that are like, hey, I want to go see the tulips in Amsterdam, but my dates are in October. That's not going to work for you.
And it's funny you say that because I just found out, and for those of you watching this right now, I did find out that next year's expo is in Amsterdam.
I know. So we're going to be going back.
We're going back to Amsterdam with probably 20 of our agents. And I will tell you, you see these things, you see them on TV and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to go there. We've been there. When you see some of the windmills in Holland and just the entire area,
it's crazy.
Amsterdam is kind of like the Venice of the North. They have actually more canals than Venice. We really enjoyed this last year.
Yeah.
And we're going back next year.
And we are. And the thing with this river is that there are so many seasons, and they do have cruises pretty much throughout the year, because some of them even bleed into the Christmas markets. So the Rhine River, very, very important.
And the really cool thing is when it gets really, really cold in the winter and the river freezes over.
It does not freeze over.
You can just skate it.
You cannot. Let's move on to the next most popular river, and that is the Danube.
Technically the most popular river of any river cruise destination within Europe.
True.
And this is Europe's second longest river, probably the most popular. And it does cross 10 countries. And this goes from like Germany's Black Forest to the Black Sea, including Vienna, Budapest, Belgrade, and the scenic Wachau Valley. And I will say this has been our favorite one to cruise on so far. And it's kind of crazy because, as you guys know, we're on it right now. We've only been on it once, but some of these cities and the tours and the experiences and the food and the restaurants and the cities, incredible.
Yeah. And what I love about it is if you are what I call a collector and you're trying to cross off as many countries as you can on your list of countries you visited, this is a great one to go on because it does go through so many countries, which is kind of a cool thing. And what I love about the Danube is it is a wider and more like prevalent river. And so some of the locks, because you go through a ton of locks on river cruises, they can accommodate the wider ships. And there's only a couple of river cruises
probably
that have two
that I can think of. Yeah. Just two.
And one of my favorite ships we've ever cruised on is the AmaMagna. And this one is a wider ship, which means that you can get some staterooms that are pretty kick butt because they're really wide, which is kind of fun.
Okay, I am so sorry. She did not mean to say kick butt.
No, but that's what's really cool, though, is you have the AmaMagna. You also have the Riverside, and they have a beautiful ship that is also extra wide that has one of like the best indoor pools on a river cruise, which is just phenomenal. If you think about it.
Forget the pool. Their chef's table room has...
Oh my gosh, so good.
Champagne that is like hundreds of dollars per bottle
or per ounce. We don't know.
We did never test that.
No, but what about AmaMagna? There is a pickleball court on top.
Okay, that was my first and only time, and we're not going to talk about what happened.
No, we're not going to show that footage, but that's just one of the advantages of being on the Danube. Lots of countries, and you do have a couple of ships if you're more into like a larger size ship that would accommodate larger staterooms. Okay, let's move on.
So next up is the Seine River, or the River Seine. And this is really the perfect river for exploring Paris and Normandy. They have stopped at Giverny, which is Monet's garden, Rouen, medieval architecture, and the D-Day beaches, which is a must for all of you military buffs.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this particular river, and it kind of surprised me because I was excited for going to Normandy beaches and I was excited for Paris, but I didn't know what to expect in between. And I was pleasantly surprised at the beautiful French countryside. And I remember going to that castle that literally, what I love about river cruising is you are in the heart of the cities. And if you watch any commercials, you've heard that phrase.
Wait, is it spend less time going there and more time being there?
Viking River Cruises.
Something like that.
Thank you, Viking.
But one of the things I love, though, is you literally can just get off the ship and then you're right there and you are in medieval history.
The difference is with ocean cruising, you're going to have some sea days. You do all these things. With cruising on the European rivers, you're in a different place every day, sometimes two. This past year, we did the Seine for the first time. So right now we've got like 4 out of the 5 rivers. And we were cruising with some clients of ours, which have now become friends. And one of our clients, his father had been in Normandy in World War II. And so the fact that we all went there as a group, that's really what makes this type of travel so much different, is the history of Europe.
Yeah. And then plus all the time you get to spend time going on these excursions together and then talking about them over dinner.
You just exactly described what river cruising is all about. Go out and have the time of your life, learn all these things during the day, and then share your experience at dinner.
Yep. Okay, so let's move on to the next.
So now we come to the river that started it all for us, and that is the Rhône River.
And this was our very first river cruise ever.
In 2014.
This river takes you through southern France's Provence and Burgundy regions. You're going to see lavender fields. You're going to be seeing some of the most amazing Roman ruins. And you also get to experience exceptional cuisine like you find in Lyon. And my favorite, some of the best wines. I love this as a first river cruise, and I feel like this particular river doesn't get a lot of love.
My favorite thing about the Rhône River is this is where our love of river cruising started back in 2014. We flew into Barcelona, and then the cruise started in Arles.
Yeah, and that's where the famous painting Starry Night was done.
By our friend Vincent van Gogh.
Yeah, and so the history is so amazing along this river, and I really do feel like sometimes this doesn't get enough credit, but the Rhône River that was exceptional. One of my favorite areas was we visited Beaujolais, and that was really special. And one of my favorite memories from this particular cruise was when we were having dinner, because you're kind of at the waterline on the ship that we were on at the time, and the swans that were right outside the window, right by where we were eating. That was so cool. So
Again,
cool.
11 years ago, we still remember this, but do you remember truffle hunting?
I do remember truffle hunting. The little puppies went out and they found, this is an exceptional river, so don't think, oh, I don't know anything about that. I don't want to go. But let's talk about what is one of the most hottest and popular rivers that a lot of people don't think about. But I'm telling you, when I go to book clients, I'm like, we got to book this as far in advance as possible because these ships are selling out. And that is the Douro River in Portugal.
So the Douro River in Portugal is known for its scenic wine region with amazing terrace vineyards. You've seen the pictures. It combines Porto exploration with rural Portuguese landscapes.
Yeah, it really is super beautiful and popular. And why we're excited for this river is because our friend and business partner, Jen Lee, has been named the godmother of the AmaSintra. We will most likely be sailing on the Douro River in 2026 with her in Portugal on a special godmother sailing. Super excited about that.
So this will complete what I call the 5 River Challenge.
I think you just made that up. Pretty sure you did.
Okay, maybe. Yes,
yeah, you
I
did.
Okay,
I know,
fine.
I do like it though. We have 4 of the 5, so that will wrap it up. So as always, if we can help you experience one of these amazing river cruises, because there are a lot of river cruise options, and we were just at our Asta River Cruise Conference. We've been touring lots of ships. We can tell you all the differences. Reach out to us or one of our Creating Magic Vacations travel advisors.
And please leave with this: never stop exploring.